Bills Mafia, Tuesday at One Bills Drive was a lot to take in. A training camp practice missing 7 players. A brand new stadium already changing how the coaching staff is thinking about preseason strategy. And somehow, in the middle of all that chaos, Josh Allen still found a way to remind everybody exactly why this offense is one of the most feared units in football. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you're going to know exactly who was hurt, who stepped up, and why Saturday's preseason game might be the most important tune-up of the entire summer. Let's get right into it, because the headline from Tuesday's session wasn't a highlight, it was an attendance list. Practice was moved indoors to the field house thanks to the threat of rain. And once things got rolling, it became clear that quite a few notable names were missing from the field. Running back Ty Johnson was out after picking up an injury during the return of the blue and red scrimmage. Starting center Connor McGovern was also held out, still working his way back from the leg issue that popped up during that same event. With McGovern sidelined, veteran Lloyd Cushenberry continued to take the first-team reps at center, which tells you the coaching staff is being deliberate and not rushing their guy back before he's ready. But the absences didn't stop there. Wide receivers Skylar Bell and Jamori Mlin were both out. Cornerback Maxwell Hairston was missing as well. And on top of that, safety Cole Bishop and safety C. Jay Gardner-Johnson both exited practice early. That is a lot of key names to have off the field on a single Tuesday in August, especially with a preseason game just days away. Now here's the good news, at least from what we're hearing. Nothing about any of these situations appears to be especially serious. Most of it looks like standard training camp caution. Coaches making sure their players are fresh and ready to go for Saturday rather than pushing through nagging little issues in a padded practice that doesn't count for anything in the standings. Still, when you're talking about 7 players missing time in a single session, even if it's precautionary, it's the kind of thing Bills Mafia wants to keep tabs on as the calendar creeps closer to the regular season opener against Houston. And speaking of things to keep tabs on, this is where the story gets really interesting. Because Buffalo's brand new home, Highmark Stadium, might be playing a bigger role in training camp decision-making than most fans realize. Defensive coordinator Jim Leonhard addressed the media and confirmed that the plan for Saturday's preseason matchup with the Carolina Panthers is for healthy defensive starters to actually get on the field. Head coach Joe Brady will ultimately decide exactly how many snaps everybody gets. But here's the thing that makes this particular preseason game different from a normal one. This is genuinely the best opportunity Buffalo has to get its starters real reps inside the new building before the games start to count. Think about the logic here. You don't want your top players getting their first taste of playing in a brand new stadium during a divisional matchup up in Cleveland after a set of joint practices. And you definitely don't want it happening in the very last preseason game, even though that one is still more than a week away. That leaves this Saturday's game as the one and only real dress rehearsal. If the Bills are going to get extended run with their first-team units anywhere this preseason, it has to happen right here. There's also a lighting and atmosphere element to consider. The return of the blue and red scrimmage was held at night, giving players one look at how the new stadium plays under the lights. But Saturday's game against Carolina kicks off during the day, which is a completely different sight picture from down on the field. And here's a fun wrinkle nobody's really talking about. Once the regular season rolls around, Buffalo's home schedule features 3 straight 1 o'clock kickoffs after the Thursday night opener against Detroit. That means players, especially the receivers, need to understand exactly how the sun sits over the new stadium in the afternoon. Because tracking a football out of a completely different sky than what they're used to at the old building is no small adjustment. On top of the lighting, Jim Leonhard also pointed out something the defense specifically needs to prepare for. He said the one thing he learned from the return of the blue and red event is that the new stadium is going to be loud, and defensive communication is going to be a real challenge if that crowd noise carries into the regular season, especially with Buffalo hosting the Detroit Lions in just week 2. Even Josh Allen himself is in an interesting spot here. He's not expected to play at all in Saturday's preseason game, but he'll still be going through his entire pregame routine at the new stadium, from his warm-up to finding his parking spot to running through every ritual he normally goes through before kickoff. There's a real belief that even without taking a single snap, simply going through all of that in the new building will help him going into the regular season. Some around the team think Allen could still see a handful of snaps, somewhere in that 10 to 15 play range, just to get some game reps under the lights of the new venue and check that box before things get real in September. Now let's talk about what actually happened on the field on Tuesday, because even with all those players missing, this practice still delivered some serious fireworks. Early in the session, it was the defensive line that stole the show. Ed Oliver was an absolute problem in the trenches, racking up a bunch of pressures and multiple sacks while also holding his ground against the run. If you've been watching training camp closely, this has become a pattern with Oliver. Every time he's had a real presence on the field this camp, it has shown up in a big way. He wasn't alone either. Edge rusher Greg Rousseau got in on the action with a pressure of his own, Javon Solomon added a pressure as well, and Dorian Walker came away with a sack. For a defense that is still adjusting to a new scheme under Jim Leonhard, seeing that kind of push up front is exactly the sign the coaching staff wants heading into preseason play. The action rolled into red zone work next, and the young defensive backs made their presence felt. Rookie D. Alford broke up a pass in the end zone, and rookie safety Jordan Hancock came away with another really nice pass breakup of his own. Those are exactly the type of plays that turn heads in a building where roster spots are still being sorted out. But if you want the two plays that had the entire sideline buzzing, you have to go to the very end of the team period. Because Josh Allen closed things out with back-to-back offensive highlights that reminded everybody why this team is a legitimate championship contender. First, Allen targeted wide receiver Keon Coleman in the corner of the end zone. Coleman was blanketed in tight coverage by D. Alford, but he fought through it, got his hands on the football, and came down with a physical, contested catch that had the entire sideline erupting in cheers. For a receiver who is entering this season with a little less hype than he had a year ago, that's exactly the kind of confidence-building rep Coleman needed. Then came the play that really stole the show. Josh Allen rolled out on a scramble drill, and if you know anything about scramble drills, you know that receivers and quarterbacks absolutely have to be on the same page for it to work. DJ Moore recognized what was happening, flanked across the back of the end zone toward the corner, and Allen found him in stride for the score. Moore was tightly covered, but he made sure the football found his hands and secured the touchdown. It wasn't just a good play, it was a great example of the chemistry Allen and Moore have built over the past several weeks of camp. That kind of trust between a quarterback and receiver doesn't happen overnight, and seeing it show up in a scramble situation is a really promising sign for how dangerous this passing attack could be once the games start to matter. Beyond the big names, a few other players are quietly building momentum. Outside linebacker Andre Jones Jr. has reportedly been getting into the backfield with regularity, even against Allen and the first-team offense, and while he clearly has the physical tools for the job, the challenge now is turning flashes into consistent production. Wide receiver Skylar Bell had been trending in a very promising direction before getting nicked up, with the coaching staff working him at multiple receiver spots in an effort to develop him into a true jack-of-all-trades option who could step in wherever Buffalo needs him during the season. And in the secondary, D. Alford has become one of the most talked-about newcomers in the building. He's the free agent replacement for longtime slot corner Taron Johnson. And his path to the NFL is a story all on its own. A former walk-on at a Division II program who spent time in the Canadian Football League before finally sticking in the league. He's set a personal goal of coming away with at least 3 interceptions this season, and based on what we've seen through camp, that kind of confidence feels earned. So here's where things stand as Buffalo heads towards Saturday. The injury report is crowded, but not alarming. The new stadium is clearly shaping how the coaching staff approaches this specific preseason game, with starters expected to get real run in front of a sold-out Highmark Stadium crowd, and even without some key names on the field. Josh Allen and this offense are still finding ways to make jaws drop in practice. All the signs point toward a very active, very meaningful preseason matchup against the Carolina Panthers this weekend, one that could tell us a lot about how ready this Buffalo Bills team really is heading into the 2026 season. That's the latest from Bills training camp, Bills Mafia. Let us know in the comments which storyline has you the most fired up, the crowded injury report, the new stadium factor, or those unbelievable throws from Josh Allen. If you enjoyed this breakdown, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss a single update as we count down to kickoff. We'll see you at the next practice report. Let's go, Buffalo!